Do you ever lay in your bed late at night and just think about your life? Do you ever replay everything you went through in your life up to the point where you are right now? Are you satisfied with where you are? What do you feel when you look back on your life and everything you went through to get where you are now? Be that planned or spontaneous? This is not scripted. I just decided to lay down in my bed and talk. There's no one in my apartment right now. And I think that's good because now I can just talk to myself and I guess walk myself through these feelings, whatever they are, I suppose. Almost lately I have arrived in a really wonderful place in my life. Right now, I feel safe and I'm living the life I always wanted, you know? And I don't regret one bit of it. That's not the point. For whatever reason, it started a few months ago, but for whatever reason, I would lay down and I would be unable to fall asleep until like 1 or 2 a.m. And I would just, like, I would just think back. I don't want to think about these things. They just come down on me like a wave on a beach, you know? And what happens is, it's like I'm seeing my life flash before my eyes, I guess. But basically, all all the hurtful moments, all the bad moments, all the sad moments, all difficulties that I went through in my life, physically, emotionally, mentally, for whatever reason, my brain just starts replaying these sad or heavy or difficult moments that I went through in my life. And my brain starts behaving like I'm back in that dark, scary place. It started with me laying down next to my loved one in bed, and I would hold him, and this overwhelming fear of mortality would come over me. Like this scary, scary fact that one day we'll age and we'll die. And then what? Then we're separated in death, I guess. I don't know. I am a believer, and I pray that wherever our souls end up, I just pray that we'll be together again. And these fears, for whatever reason, they haunt me at night. And it's kind of scary, I guess, to think that it will all come to an end one day. And you don't know where you're gonna end up after that. And what's gonna happen to your soul? Will you ever see your loved ones again? You don't know any of it. And then, what about the people you leave behind? You can only hope that they'll be alright, I guess. Don't misunderstand me. I love my current life more than anything. I guess that's why the thought of an eventual end terrifies me so much. I have no one else I can tell these thoughts to. I could tell them to my partner, I guess, but I mean, we both know that eventually in time life ends, right? And like, and life ends and life goes on, I suppose. But I don't know, maybe it's because when you love someone so much and you feel that they love you back just as much, the thought of eventual separation, even if it is by old age and natural causes, is really, really devastating. It started this way. It started by this fear of mortality haunting me late at night, preventing me from sleeping. And then it shifted. Then my thoughts um then my thoughts shifted to moments from my life, the difficult moments in childhood, in elementary school, in high school, in early adulthood. For whatever reason, these thoughts only haunt me at night, and these fears linger on me. Well, they linger over me, I guess. And it feels good to get it out, I suppose, even if it is just through, like this, through an audio recording. This is not meant to scare anyone. This is not meant to discourage you from living your life, feeling love, and then feeling loss and sadness. The duality of life is really fascinating, isn't it? Experiencing emotion is truly a gift, even when they are heavy, even when they cause us to feel uncomfortable, even when they cause us pain. I would lay down at night and think about the passage of time, about the fact that my partner and I will age and die inevitably one day, like everybody else. And that didn't make the fear any less, it just made it stronger. Sometimes I would even cry myself to sleep. I talk to him about it sometimes, but I believe he is more at peace with these things than I am. And I figured I need to get this out of me. I tried journaling, but for whatever reason, it's not the same as actually talking out loud. And I figured there should be a recording of it. And it should be stored somewhere, even if it is YouTube or some kind of USB drive or somewhere deep in the hard drive of my laptop. But what I wanted to say before is that fear haunts me at night. But as soon as I manage to fall asleep and I wake up the next day, it's all gone and I feel completely normal. But then it shifted. Now I no longer think about mortality, the inevitable passage of time and dying. Now my thoughts haunt me with experiences from my past. I think back on my beginnings. I think back on my first day in kindergarten. I think back on that moment where I sat down to introduce myself and make friends with some kids there. And I got laughed at when I told them my last name because it was short and unusual. And then we just never clicked, I guess. I think about how I was always the last one to know things. I was always the last one to be told things. I was always the last one picked for any game. If it was up to my peers, I wouldn't even play at all. I was only picked because teachers insisted on inclusivity and they basically forced them to include me in games, but it was never like that. It was never, it was never authentic. I would maybe last for like 5 minutes and then I would just leave on my own and hide in some kind of corner and sit with my thoughts. When you feel that you're not wanted somewhere, even doesn't matter if you're a child or a teenager or a young adult or an adult or middle-aged, you always feel when you're not wanted somewhere. And I guess if you experience rejection early in childhood from peers and misunderstanding from adults, that sticks with you, It follows you everywhere. And even as I grew older and I guess became more extroverted and I managed to connect with people somehow and I managed to make friends and to find a loving partner, you still, I thought all of that was behind me, but still it haunts me late into the night. And for whatever reason, my brain keeps replaying those moments, not just from childhood, but from early teenagehood or from high school or, well, from the time what should have been me spending time in college, but around that age, a big shift happened in my life and I moved with my family to a different country where I had to adjust to a new culture, a new mentality, a new way of living. I had to learn a new language, which was extremely difficult. And I was young. Learning isn't a problem, but for whatever reason, this new language just wouldn't stick in my head. It was extremely difficult. If you ever had to learn German and you're not a native, I think you can relate. Life in the city is so fast paced, you don't have the time to just stop and feel your emotions for a moment and try to be in tune with yourself or your surroundings. I'm glad I found the time. I appreciate it very much. And I'm not making this to create an audience. I'm not going to tell you to like and subscribe and follow for more. No. Whether you do that or not is completely up to you. I basically started doing this today because I need a stronger outlet, I guess. I realized that drawing or painting pictures that are supposed to represent my whatever I'm feeling or journaling is just not enough. And this is going to sound maybe wrong, but I'm only doing this because I realized that I feel lighter and better, and I guess more liberated from this emotional heaviness when I when I when I speak about the things that bother me out loud, even if no one is around to hear it. Then I can feel whatever it is that I need to feel. If I need to cry, then I'll cry. If I feel nothing but stillness, then I'll sit with that stillness. If I feel sadness or emptiness or maybe even joy, I can just allow myself to feel it. Maybe this will be good for me. Maybe this will be a good way to get some of these difficult feelings out that I can't name. But I can feel that there's an emotional burden inside of me, and I've been carrying it for a long time. I just didn't know how to throw it out. I went to therapy as well, both individual and group therapy, and both were helpful. I forced myself to go out more and meet new people. Don't misunderstand me. I never went to like the clubs, or I never got drunk. I can't drink. I have migraines, and alcohol and migraines, they don't mix very well together. But I would find like a group of people that meets together 1 or 2 times per week in a local park, and we sit around and draw whatever we see and we chat. I met a group that gathers together sometimes, and when we all have the time, and we all go to the cinema and watch a movie together, then we just usually go for a drink afterwards where we talk and discuss the movie. I found a book club. I don't visit it anymore though. It became kind of boring. But back then, when I first started visiting it, it was really great. It had all kinds of interesting books. And now it just became so sterile, I guess. Before, we used to discuss and present all kinds of books. Like literally no genre was off the table. But now it's just self-help, finance, what else? Or some kind of power revenge fantasies. Nothing wrong with those books, of course, but if it's just that and nothing else, it tends to get a bit repetitive. I miss the days where we had all kinds of books represented, all kinds of books. But now it's just same thing, different font every day. And the energy kind of shifted. All the cool people left, so yeah. So not only did books get sterilized, the personalities got sterilized as well. But yeah, I initially lay down on my bed today and opened my recording app to talk about my lingering fear of mortality and eventual death. But now I guess I can see that I'll be covering all sorts of things. This is just the beginning. At the beginning of this video, I started breaking down, and that's probably not gonna be the last time that happens. I guess it depends on what kind of subjects I touch on. I don't have a script. I don't write these things down. This is completely spontaneous. Maybe you'll hear me repeating myself sometimes. Maybe I'll sound clunky, maybe I'll stutter here and there, maybe I'll have to repeat what I said to correct myself, but that's fine. I've spent a great deal of my life worried, or I don't know, anxious about the fact that I'm not perfect and I can't do everything perfectly without a single flaw, you know? And I came to accept that that's just how humans are. I stopped believing in perfection. I love to draw, and I love to draw stories, and even when my illustrations are not perfect, I don't fret about it anymore. I just do the best I can, and I try not to think about it. The most important thing is that it's fulfilling, that it's fun, and that it gives me a sense of purpose. You know? I learned long ago in childhood that you shouldn't try to fit in if you just don't, you know? You're either accepted or you're not. You either fit in or you don't. And if you don't, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. People just tend to be really mean about it, especially kids. Especially kids, and especially in the early 90s. That's when I grew up. I was growing up during the early 90s, and it was tough. Um, it was tough. When you're the oddball, when you're the only oddball in kindergarten or in school, well, maybe not in school, but definitely in my class. Yeah. I remember when I was around third or fourth grade, I was sitting alone on a bench in the schoolyard eating my lunch, just being alone with my thoughts as always, nothing new there. And what really touched me was this girl from another class came and she sat down and she said hi. And she spoke to me like I was a normal person, you know? She asked me why I'm always alone and like why do the other kids dislike me so much. And she asked me all the questions that I was asking myself, but I didn't have an answer. And those who could give me an answer refused to give it, or they didn't have it themselves, so I couldn't give anything to her. But it was nice. She talked to me like I was a normal person, which was all I ever wanted, to be treated normally. And not like I'm some kind of stain on a wall that needs to be scraped off. And it was really, really nice. It was just a normal moment. We just talked about normal stuff. Well, it started with her asking me, about why I was an outcast and I couldn't give her an answer. And she made an effort. She tried to get to know me. And then some of her classmates, I guess, saw us from. I just felt seen in that moment. It was really nice. And I never forgot that. I'm in my early 30s now, and I never forgot that. It meant a lot. And then her classmates called her from, I guess, across the yard, and she didn't go all the way, I guess. I don't remember correctly. It was a long time ago. But I remember that she went to talk to them, and I didn't expect her to come back. I just went back to my sandwich or whatever it is that I was eating, and my thoughts. I don't even remember what I was thinking about. I was very much into anime back then, so I was probably thinking about some kind of anime that I wanted to watch when I get home from school. And then something that I didn't expect happened. She came back and sat down with me again. And I was surprised. I fully expected her to go with them and to never speak to me again, but that's not what happened. She sat down and I was like, "What happened? Why didn't you go with them?" And she said, "Well, they wanted me to." And she actually told me that they asked her, and I quote, "What's wrong with you? Why are you talking to her? Don't you know that she's weird or something?" And when she challenged them, she said, she asked them, "How is she weird? Why? Why is she an outcast? Why doesn't nobody want to talk to her?" They didn't have an answer for her. She said that they just looked at each other and left. They wanted her to leave with them. I guess they were like worried about her reputation because she told me that. She told me that they asked her, "Aren't you like worried about what others are going to say? If someone sees you talking to her, nobody will want to be your friend." And she told to them, "So what? Like, why are you treating her like this?" And I felt really, for the first time in my life, I felt seen, I guess. I told her that was nice of her, that she didn't have to do that, but she said that they were stupid for behaving that way. We remained friendly, but we were like in separate classes, and our schedules didn't overlap very often. But we did continue talking from time to time. We never had like a chance to become proper friends, but she was always nice to me, and I was always nice to her. And I never ever forgot her, and I never forgot that moment on the bench when she treated me like a person. And that meant a lot. I don't know if she even has social media or if she even has a YouTube channel, but if you ever come across this video, Yelena, I just want you to know that you really made me feel human that day. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for treating me like a normal person. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. But yeah, that was the one moment. That was, I think, I don't have a lot of nice memories from elementary school, but that was one of them. My memories of elementary school are usually being ignored at best, being bullied at worst. But for the most time, I tried my best to remain invisible. I didn't want any kind of attention on myself from anyone, from girls or boys, because I was constantly made fun of. I was constantly mocked. I was constantly laughed at. And they didn't even need a reason. I could just pick up a pen and they would laugh. You know, I could be lost in my thoughts and like spin the pencil between my fingers as I think, And if one of my bullies would saw that, they would draw attention to it and cause a huge scene and start laughing. I never realized what was funny. I was just holding a pencil. But that's how it was. Any minor action that I would do was cause for a laughter. Even if it was just, I don't know, putting my hair behind my ear or something. And I hated, in my school, we had this thing where every week, two different students would be responsible for like cleaning the blackboard with a sponge before class would start, or letting the teacher know who is absent. And I hated that. I hated when it was my turn because we would all be in the same classroom and I would just do my thing. I would take a sponge, soak it up with water, clean the blackboard, and no matter how normally I did it, no matter how normally I did it, for whatever reason, one of my bullies would find a reason to laugh at me for it. And I hated that feeling. I hated that feeling of people pointing fingers at me and laughing for whatever reason, being laughed at for just existing, you know. And there were these two girls that were one grade above me, and I would sometimes like encounter them. I would pass them sometimes in a hallway, or we would happen to be at the female bathroom, at the girls' bathroom at the same time. And schools in the 90s were different than back then. I mean, than today. I mean, today kids have, they bring their own water bottles to school, right? They have backpacks that have like a specific pocket for a water bottle. When I was going to school in the late 90s and early 2000s, nobody brought a water bottle with them to school for whatever reason. If we needed water, if we were thirsty, we would go to the sink either in the classroom or in the bathroom, and we would put one hand under the running water, and we would like bring our lips to it, and that's how we would drink, right? So again, I avoided doing that in my class because kids would see and laugh at me. So I would go to the bathroom and just drink from the sink in the bathroom, right? And these two girls first started, like, the bigger one. There was a tall skinny one and the small chubby one. Well, she wasn't like, she was chubby, but she wasn't like extremely obese or something else. Like it was nothing too much, but you could see she was a bit curvaceous, and I don't know, maybe other kids made fun of her for it, and she decided to take her frustrations out on me. You know, the 2000s were a different time. There was no body positivity like today, right? And I never had anything against them. I never like spoke to them. It started out as the taller girl. I guess she saw me drinking water, and I guess I drank kind of loudly, and she said that I sounded like a frog. So she told that to the other girl, and first they started like teasing me for the way I loudly drink water, that I drank like a frog. And then I wasn't reacting to that. I would just ignore them and pass them, and that would be it. For like months, I just wouldn't react, and it wasn't common enough to bother me. It's because they were one grade above me when I was fourth grade and they were fifth grade. I never saw them because we would go to school in different shifts, and this is gonna sound weird too, like Americans and maybe even other people listening. In my home country, um, there was no like, normally here in this foreign country where I'm living, in this German speaking country that I'm living in right now, the school functions like it's from first to fourth grade, it's elementary school, and then it's like counted as middle school from grade 5 to 8 or 9, I'm not sure, and then goes high school or gymnasium or whatever. In my country, elementary school is from first to eighth grade, and then in my native country, of course, and then you go to a high school, you can either pick the gymnasium, or you could pick like an economy school, or you could pick like a trade school, like a hairdresser or a seamstress tailor, architecture, something like that. And then you would from there go on to college. So when I was of course, my school was smaller back then. And when I was going in elementary school, we would go to school in shifts. So from grades 1 to 4, if they had school from 8 to 1:30, then grades from 5 to 8 had school from 2 to 7:30. And then next week we would switch. Grades 5 to 8 would go from 8 to 1:30, and grades 1 to 4 would go from 2 to 7:30 in school. So of course, as they were one grade above me, I didn't see them often. We would sometimes, on like once in a blue moon, I would encounter them, these girls in the bathroom, and they would hear me drink water and made fun of me and call me a frog. And I would ignore them because it just wasn't worth it, because besides, those two seemed kind of aggressive, I'm not gonna lie. They were bigger than me and they were older than me, so of course I'm not gonna engage, in a physical altercation or yell back at them, because as bad and aggressive as the boys could be with me, girls were worse. The girls in my class did not pick on me, they just kind of ignored me, I guess. But they weren't outright mean to me either. The boys, well, they didn't really like defend me, or they didn't like. I wasn't a friend. Obviously, I wasn't like important enough. I was not included, but I was not completely excluded. They just kind of stayed away from me. And yeah, the boys, well, not all, but there was a group of boys that loved to pick on me. But yeah, these girls that were one grade above me and in a different class, of course, I just didn't want to mess with older girls because I was smaller and weaker myself, obviously. And when I was fifth grade, I was kind of bullied by this group of eighth grader girls, and they were like trees, compared to me. So when it was recess, I would try to avoid these girls, I would just try to hide somewhere and try to pass them by. And these two girls, they noticed that I'm just ignoring them, and I kept ignoring them. But then they kind of escalated. Um, I'm a natural redhead, and I was the only redhead in the entire school. So they started making fun of my hair color, called me orange head because of my copper tones. And they thought that would like get a reaction out of me or something, but it didn't. I remember asking them once, like, why are you behaving this way? Why does me drinking water bother you? And if she gave me an answer, I don't remember it because I just remember that it didn't make sense. And it kept going on. I mean, once I reached 8th grade myself, they had already graduated 1 year before, so I was free of them. I was free of them in 4th grade because then they were 5th grade and we were never in the same shift. And then it continued, and then when I reached 8th grade, they were already gone, left school, went to high schools, and that was it. I was like free of them permanently. But it started with them making fun of me for the way I drank water, for the way I swallowed water, I guess. And then it escalated to insulting my hair color. And they weren't the only one. My classmates never made comments about my hair color, but my elementary school teacher did. She was really awful. She always yelled. She was, she had favorites. It was obvious. She, there were certain girls in the class that were her favorites. I was not one of them, so I got the harsh treatment. She would rip the leaves from my notebook if she didn't like the way I did my homework. Um, she hated my drawings. I loved to draw, but she hated them. And she would always give me like threes, fours, even twos. Now, in American school, this would be C's or D's, even though I absolutely love drawing. But she has beaten my confidence down so much that I was on the verge of giving up on drawing completely. And then third grade happened, and we got this amazing art teacher. Her name was Sonia. And I remember one day in her class, I think we didn't have a theme. We could draw whatever we wanted. And I drew and painted with watercolor a train that was traveling through the mountains, and there was some trees in front of it. And I just did it kind of absent-mindedly. And I remember I didn't think much of it, but when she saw that, she was like thrilled. She was absolutely thrilled, and she kept like, she showed it to the whole class, and she kept like praising me and praising the drawing. And that was an incredible experience for me, because I have never been praised by a teacher at that point. I was always just criticized and belittled. And she loved that drawing so much. She kept it for a whole year, for a whole third grade. That drawing was kept. I don't remember if it was inside or outside in the hall, because we had these boards where you could pin stuffs to with needles. I'm pretty sure it was in class, if I'm remembering correctly. She praised that drawing. She praised the hell out of that drawing. And she always encouraged me to like draw more and do better and to use more color. And she was like really, really cheering me on. And I'll never forget that teacher. She rekindled my my spark. She gave me back my love for drawing, and that's why I can still draw today. Only I went from drawing trains and mountains behind trees to drawing stories. I actually have a story going on. It's I'm uploading it to my DeviantArt. This wasn't meant to be like a self-promotion or anything, but since I'm already mentioning my favorite teacher from my school days, I may as well tell you guys that I have a DeviantArt, and I upload my current comic that I'm drawing on that DeviantArt, and I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to check it out. It's not a must. Don't worry about it. I'm not like here to self-promote or whatever. Check it out if you want. Don't if you don't want to, you know. It's fine. But what I wanted to say is that I'm so grateful to that teacher. I owe my spark back to her, I guess. Maybe that doesn't sound right, but whatever. This is not scripted anyway. I don't give it. I don't care. I don't care if this is not perfect. I don't care if it doesn't sound refined. It doesn't matter. What matters is this teacher gave me back my will to live, basically. She was so thrilled. She spoke with my mom, and she like praised me so much in my drawing. And I remember that my bullies, I could see it in their faces. Like, as my teacher was praising my drawing, I looked at them, and there wasn't a single smile on the face of other kids. They just felt criticized or something. I could see like the frown on the faces of my bullies. It's like they hated that someone praised me or something. You know, little kids, I don't know if they usually, clock things like this, but I learned since earliest childhood to watch faces, I guess. I can't tell I can't read minds. I can't tell what people are feeling exactly. But I could read a face and I could tell when someone, I mean, this is probably something we all have. We can all tell if someone doesn't like us or if they want to punch us. But I don't know. I think when I was younger, that instinct was much sharper in me because well, I guess my kind of survival sort of depended on it, and I learned to stay away from everyone. But that was, I think, the first time where I saw what I thought was genuine hatred on their faces. And I always knew deep down that these specific people actually hated me. And whenever I tried to talk to teachers or my parents about it, I would just be told that, oh, they don't really hate you. Kids can't hate. You're only like taking it that way. Try to be friendlier, try to be nicer, they would tell me. And they would say, no, they don't hate you. That's not impossible. That's just how they are, you know. They genuinely believed that I was just kids being kids, right? And well, I was right. In the end, I was right. No. It's been 47 minutes now. And it's really, I have to say, it's really helping me to talk about this. Even if there's no one out there who's going to hear this or going to listen. Even if no one ever hears this, I'm glad I made this audio diary, I guess you could call it. Well, I guess I'm feeling a little lightheaded from this. Maybe I should drink some water. But it does help that I'm laying down. Sometimes when I'm overwhelmed with emotions, my migraines tend to get triggered, and sometimes I get very dizzy, and then I can't do anything for the rest of the day except take my pill and wait for it to start functioning. But I don't want that to happen. And I can already tell that this talking into the void, I guess, is really helping me. I don't know, I was planning to talk for 30 minutes only, but we're almost 10 or maybe even 20 minutes past that point. So maybe this video will be an hour long, maybe not, I don't know. The thing is, I'm not trying to be performative. I'm not trying to be entertaining. I'm just trying to be raw and real. This is not made for the algorithm. This is not made to go viral. This is not made to make me YouTube famous or whatever. That's not my goal. I just want to take this emotional burden that's weighing down on my heart and soul and throw it somewhere. I want to be free of it. Maybe you'll think this is silly as you listen to it. Who knows, maybe my voice will put you to sleep. Maybe this will help you focus on, I don't know, your writing or maybe you draw like me. Maybe you're like me. Maybe you like to sit down, put on some YouTube, and just listen to something as you draw or clean or cook. Speaking of cooking, I have some cooking to do today. I gotta do some cleaning later. I have to cook, I have to go buy some groceries. I have stuff to do, but I wanted to take at least this 1 hour and get some emotional stuff off of my chest. And I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you to do with your life whatever it is that you want. I want you to live your life however you want and be proud of it. Be unapologetic. I'm actually learning that myself. I'm learning to apologize less and less. And my partner has been a great influence on me to that. I'm trying to unlearn some of the harmful and hurtful behavior that I've engaged in previously or when I was younger. I'm not prone to self-destructing. Don't worry, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I don't club. I never liked clubs, my God. Speaking of clubs and like discos, I guess. I remember when my third 12 or 13, when we were already 6th or 7th grade. I remember we were, this was actually in 8th grade. My bad, this was actually in 8th grade. I remember being 14 years old and they took us to our last school trip, which lasted 7 days. And we were staying in some mountain town for for 1 week. And I remember that the teachers kind of required for us to have a disco night every night. Basically, we would spend the day going take a breakfast. The teachers would take us out. We would go see some stuff, go back to the hotel, have dinner, go back to our rooms, and then we were expected to chill for an hour. And then we were expected to like put on some dancing clothes, and they would send us into some kind of hall in the hotel, which was like kind of a kid-friendly version of a club or a disco. There was loud music, there was the disco ball spinning, slowly. We were allowed like fruit juices and cola and Pepsi and Fanta, Sprite, whatever. Alcohol was not allowed, but 14-year-olds being 14-year-olds, they would find a way to get it. Some teachers would stay to like monitor us. They were very bad at that, by the way. And the rest of the teachers would retreat to their rooms and sleep. And I guess we were allowed to party until midnight. And I freaking hated that. I hated that so much, but it was a requirement. Like, you couldn't say no, For whatever reason, they wouldn't allow us to stay alone in the room. But I had a plan. I would, like, dress up, I guess. And I would go to the party with them, and I would wait for about 15 to 20 minutes until things, started, really kicking in the gear and the teachers were distracted. And then I would like sneak out, go back to the room, lock up, and I would just change into my pajamas, throw myself onto bed, and I would read a comic book. I had those Bonelli comics. I don't know if there are any Italians listening to this. My favorite Bonelli series was always Dylan Dog. I read that thing religiously. I also read Tex Wheeler and Zagor. And I would lay down on the bed and just read one of those until I fell asleep. And that was awesome. I loved that. then I would fall asleep, and then at some point the girls that I shared the room with would come back and knock, and then I would get up and open it for them. And this is the thing, I think we never brought keys to our rooms with us. We were always required to leave them in the room. And then I would come back, close the door, take the key, and lock up. And the teacher never actually noticed. They never actually noticed that I would sneak out or would look for me. You know, that's how observant they were. Yeah, no wonder a couple of boys from my class got drunk more than once and vomited all over the hotel. But yeah, I think this has been very helpful. And I have been jumping from one theme to another. Like I said, this is completely spontaneously made. I really, really, really don't care about planning or making the perfect video or, I don't know, lighting, script, this, that, editing, whatever it is that goes into a perfect YouTube video nowadays. On my channel, I have some gaming content, mostly, I think, and I think I have a few videos of me drawing my old webtoons back when I was still on the webtoon. But I recently deleted my webtoon profile, and all the series I uploaded on it, because webtoon is not what it used to be. It now has a rating system. It now has censorship. And a few months ago, I tried posting this comic book that I'm working on now. I tried posting one chapter on webtoon, and they took it down because of one word. I have a scene in which a character is like so frustrated with what he read in the newspapers, and I don't know if this word was like allowed on YouTube. It's nothing bad, but basically he got frustrated in the story and threw the newspapers on the floor, and basically he just said DAMNED, politics, and that's why they took a whole chapter down, and they told me that it violates their terms of service, and that my chapter was taken down for having profanity and inappropriate language in it. And that's when that was a straw that broke the camel's back. I completely gave up on webtoon. I deleted all of my series on it. I deleted my profile. It's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. I also deleted my Facebook and my Instagram, and I just don't want to deal with the negativity and the gender war that's happening on there, and the red pill content and this and that, and especially the boomer memes. Jesus Christ. But yeah, all I have now is this YouTube channel and my DeviantArt, and I think that's all I need. And of course, I have Pinterest, but I'm not even active there. Basically, Pinterest is good for like looking for reference photos when I need like certain movements or certain scenes where I need a tutorial about something. Pinterest is good for that, you know? Or when you, I don't know, want to create an event. It doesn't matter. Either way, Pinterest is, for me, Pinterest is very useful for reference photos when I'm drawing something. But yeah, other than that, every other social media has been deleted, and I feel much lighter and happier for it. I feel much lighter and wonderful because I spoke out loud. I've been thinking a long time about doing this, and now that I finally did it, it's really wonderful. This is just like therapy, but I'm talking to my empty apartment. And you know what? I'll make, I think I'll continue doing this. I'll make more of these.